I'm sure we all get a little upset when our favourite manga finishes, be it because you wanted it to continue a little longer or wasn't satisfied with how it ended. The same can be said about cancellations, but this can sometimes be more frustrating, especially if cancelled too early. This was definitely the case with Phantom Seer. Despite sitting at the bottom of the ranks for most of its run, Phantom Seer was a solid shonen series. I wanted to put my vague thoughts into this video, and as it's only 30 chapters, I'll try and keep it relatively spoiler free. We follow two main characters, Riku Eibetsu, a young schoolgirl who finds happiness in helping other people, and Iori Katsanagi, a shaman who exercises phantoms and likes to isolate himself from everyone. Within the first chapter, we find out Riku attracts phantoms, which is the cause of all the trouble people around her are experiencing. The two team together fighting off phantoms. Riku kind of draws in the phantoms and Iori exercises them. Each arc carries something over to the next, like a wound or some kind of connection to the main antagonist. So no arc feels isolated in itself, but instead it's a continuous flow to the story. We have a few other exorcists introduced, but most of the action comes from Iori, who is pretty funny. For the most part, he's selfish and lazy and does his best to try and get out of his exorcism work. But when the situation calls for it and a little nudge from his sister, he can get serious. Both Riku and Iori have a tendency to do things alone, but are often reminded to rely on one another. It's a nice kind of balance between the two that isn't always portrayed in shonen shows. We have unique side characters that help move the plot along, and again, it's a shame the series ended because it would have been nice to see more of them. Like Iori Katsanagi, who plays the OP Onesan, or Kenma Oikawa, the calm and collected version of Iori. The art style was clean and has a more realistic feel to it in comparison to other shonen shows at the moment. Characters have normal enough body shapes and facial features, and only during the gags do we see any real change in the character design. And there's a lot of detail during the emotional scenes and fight sequences, and a good use of screen tones. But where the show really shines and gets creative are the phantoms. I've been creeped out more than a few times whilst reading, not so much during the battles, but when we first introduced to the new phantoms, there's like a slow build up to the reveal when you know it's coming, but the execution just hits different. Last thing I want to talk about is the fan service, and there's not that much really. We have a couple moments at the start, but after that it kind of dies down. Definitely not a selling point, and a good thing too, as I don't think it goes with the flow of the narrative. Sadly, 99% of it falls on Riku, which is a shame because some think that it tarnishes her character. However, I disagree. At most, it's normally once a chapter. Phantom Seer's swift decline in rank came pretty quickly, most likely due to the pacing issues within the first 10 chapters. Personally, I didn't mind some of the exposition, but it was a good 7 chapters before we were introduced to the main antagonist, at which point readers had already made up their mind about the show. Though a short run, the series hits on a few themes like relying on other people and overcoming your past mistakes. Definitely worth a read on the Shonen Jump app or Viz web browser. If the 2 volumes ever get released, I'll be sure to purchase them, but it's unlikely to happen, which is a shame because within the first week, the volume was reported to have sold 10,000 copies and it was forced into a reprint. I can't find anything relating to the reprint sales or the second volume sales, unfortunately. If you already read the series, are you upset that it's cancelled? And if so, let me know who your favourite character is. Definitely mine would be Iori, for sure.